Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.
It's always good to be out there meeting with people constantly, finding out what's going on in the industry. That way you can get a lead as to what's good at the time, what type of business to go into, the economic situation, everything.
Never give up. Keep your sights forward. Don't think negative. Don't be a negative thinker. Enthusiasm. There are all sorts of, well, those types of attributes are very, very important. The negative mentality will never be successful in business because you're dealing with people. And enthusiasm, for example, is contagious.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Hinton.
And I'm Genevieve Stewart. Owning and managing your own business can be the greatest and most satisfying challenge in today's business world. But is it a challenge that minorities can meet?
Of course, the answer to that question is yes, and we'll share with you the stories of two people who I guess we can call successful minority entrepreneurs. We'll also share with you some information on how you can survive and succeed in the business world. That and more today on Folks.
Everybody's just folks. Just plain old folks. Everybody just people all over the world. Folks who live, folks got to give, folks got to care, ooh, folks got to share. Our world is small, so very small. What touches one of all, ooh, touches us all. To stay alive, just to survive, folks got to be in harmony. Everybody just folks. Just plain old folks. Just plain old folks. Everybody just folks. Everybody just folks. Just plain old folks. Just plain old folks. Everybody just folks.
If you have recently gone into business for yourself, or if you plan to, you probably know that the odds are against you. If you are a minority planning to go into business, you probably think the odds are even greater. But the truth is, you can survive and succeed in your own business, as we found out on a recent trip to Lafayette. Minority-owned travel agencies are few and far between, especially in Louisiana. Odyssey is one of these unusual businesses. Unusual in more than one way. It was begun without any borrowed capital. Odyssey Travel opened its doors in Lafayette 5 years ago under the capable management of its owners, Lonnie and Ava Boute. With increased success, Odyssey expanded its offices to this prime location in the hubbub of Lafayette. This travel agency may not be considered a typical minority business because it draws its clientele from a cross-section of Lafayette's booming economy. I asked owner Ava Boute why she chose a travel agency as a new business venture.
It's a famous question that a lot of people ask. The obvious, of course, is that we thought that we maybe would be able to enjoy a lot of travel benefits, which we still do. One of the other things, one of the most important things I feel like, is that we wanted to get into a business where it was not the traditional, conventional type business that everybody else was enjoying. And we thought that maybe in the travel business we could lend some creativity, some of our own personal input, some of our own personalities. So that was why.
What advice would you give to someone else starting their own business?
Before you even consider going into a business, you kind of have to be out there with the public. You have to enjoy working with people. The other thing is that it's always good to be out there meeting with people constantly, finding out what's going on in the industry. That way you can get a lead as to what's good at the time, what type of business to go into, the economic situation, everything. One of the other things I think that is really important is that before you even get into the business and you're considering it, get some good legal counsel. That's a place to start. And generally, hopefully, it'll be somebody in your own locale, an attorney who's good at what he does, obviously, but somebody who can point you in the right direction and perhaps direct you to some potential investors if that's what you're looking for, direct you as far as financing is concerned if you are in need of that, obviously. And another important thing before you even consider going into the business that you are thinking about, I think it's important that you do a study or get some good marketing research behind you. There are several universities that offer this type of function, and it's called a feasibility survey. Generally what they do is they research the area that you want to go into, find out if it's economically feasible, if the market is saturated, etc. And that helps out a lot. They can do a lot of the footwork for you.
What is the most difficult aspect of running a travel agency?
I think probably the day-to-day management of it. Just the normal things that go on in any business, employee relations, being able to service your client very well, because after all, that is what you sell, a service. You have to be able to do it better than anybody else in the business so that you get the repeat clientele. And I think basically that's it, just serving the public and giving them what they want.
Genevieve, have you ever thought about going into business for yourself?
Oh, that's long been a dream of mine. I think everyone has that dream.
I know I've had that dream, but then I think about how risky such a venture would be. It takes a lot of guts, patience, long, hard hours, and oftentimes money to make an idea work. It also takes ability plus some degree of luck. Well, recently I talked to a man who has taken all of those ingredients to start what some people would call a risky business, particularly during these depressed economic times. Meet Mohammad Baaheth. He is in the construction business. Baaheth went into his business full-time in 1979 following a successful career with a major corporation. He says his goal has always been to become a successful businessman.
I decided to pursue my goals in a more vigorous manner about 5 years ago. And that was due to perhaps my ability to recognize the opportunities that were going to be coming up in this day and time, like what we have right now, even though the economy could be economically depressed to some extent. But for the goal-oriented individual, for the one who gets out there and hustle, there is no such thing as depressed economy. Not in this country, that is. This is America.
Baaheth's company is presently adding a recreation center onto the new Macedonia Church of God in Christ in Baton Rouge. Once the recreation center is completed, renovations will be made to the church. Baaheth had to bid against 6 other companies for the $250,000 project.
To be in business for yourself is a very rewarding thing. You know, it's a very good feeling to operate a business where you're gainfully employed. You know, you have a gainful, by that I mean you're operating a business, not just going in business to say, I have a business, I'm going to get me a charter and go into business. You actually have a marketable product, and you sell this product, and you do a good job. That's a very rewarding feeling that you get there. I know I do.
Do you consider yourself a minority businessman or a businessman who just happens to be a minority?
I'm a businessman who just happens to be a minority. And there might not be anything wrong with that to a major extent. Now, there are some cases where it has been said that minority businessmen are discriminated against. Most of our business is from the private sector. We haven't taken advantage of any of the opportunities that might be available with government contracts, minority procurement. We haven't. As soon as they present themselves, we probably will. But at this particular time, 100% of our business is from the private sector. So we haven't had any real major assistance in the construction industry.
What does the future hold for your corporation?
We're growing. We have some goals set. We certainly hope that we acquire those goals. With the support that we've been getting in the past, we feel, and if we can continue to get that, we feel like we will reach some degree of success in this business. We're certainly going to hang in there.
From the lessons you have learned, what words of wisdom would you have for someone else who is contemplating going into business?
It can be done. It can be done. Never give up. Keep your sights forward. Don't think negative. Don't be a negative thinker. Enthusiasm. There are all sorts of, well, those types of attributes are very, very important. The negative mentality will never be successful in business because you're dealing with people. And enthusiasm, for example, is contagious.
Now, Baaheth is getting management and technical assistance from Wybirk and Associates, a minority business development company here in Baton Rouge. And we have with us today from Wybirk, Warren Birkett, project director of that organization. We also have with us Nathaniel Davis from the Small Business Administration Office in New Orleans. Gentlemen, welcome to Folks.
Good morning.
Warren, let me begin with you. Tell us a little bit about Wybirk, what it's all about.
Well, Wybirk in itself is a management consulting firm, and it is a minority-owned firm also. We've been in business since 1977. Last year, 82, we entered into a corporate agreement with the United States Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency. Under that agreement, we operate a Baton Rouge-based Minority Business Development Center, which serves East, West Baton Rouge Parish, Ascension, and Livingston Parish primarily. Based on what we can provide in services, it's absolutely limitless. The only thing we cannot provide is legal work, true legal work. And we don't have money to make loans, obviously. But we do get into making loan packages and bonding packages for clients.
Now, is your service for people who are presently in business or people who are thinking about going to business, or both?
Both. Under the agreement, we can provide services such as market analysis, feasibility studies, site locations, whatever, for people interested in going in business, and give them the performer or accounting assistance that's needed prior to getting into the business. When I say that, I mean you just don't go into business without having a plan, and we can provide the plan along with the financial information that's necessary to make the business a viable business and provide direct assistance once you get into the business. For those already in business, we can provide them, again, with just about any kind of service they need. I need to mention that two things. One, we have a full staff of 9 people that have various expertise belong to the project. And based on services that cannot be provided by our staff, without which we have in-house expertise, then we have funds where we go out and buy services from specialized consultants. And that would get into things such as CPAs or even in computer systems or whatever, major acquisitions, manufacturing areas, whatever the case may be.
Nathaniel, what services does the Small Business Administration offer other than financing? Are there any others?
Yes, Small Business Administration offers contracts with minorities with the U.S. government, also offer management and technical assistance, and also guaranteed bonding assistance. We have a Section 8A program which allows the United States government to contract with minorities and negotiate a contract. It is not a bid contract. It's a negotiable contract. These must be firms that are approved by SBA as 8A contractors. Section 8A of the Small Business Act authorizes the Small Business Administration to contract with another agency of the United States government and then subcontract with a minority firm or a disadvantaged firm, as we called it.
What is the advantage of getting SBA financing? Most SBA loans are secured loans, and most commercial loans require collateral. So what advantage does the SBA have over someone else?
Well, SBA also have direct funds, which is not normally told to many people. The current administration is cutting back on those funds, but there are currently over several $1 million available for direct funds. These are money that can be directly funded for the U.S. government. You don't have to go through a bank. SBA guarantees with the bank funds that a borrower can get at a lower rate of interest. And on numerous occasions, the major problem with an SBA loan that's comparable to a commercial loan is that we try to make it a shorter period of time. Right now we have what we call a participating bank loan, where you go to the bank and the bank approve the loan, and all SBA does is guarantee it. We try to do that in 72 hours.
Well, Nat, how does a minority businessman qualify for one of these direct loans?
How does it work? Well, normally a direct loan is what we call an EOL type loan, and all you have to do is be a minority, and you normally you go to Wybirk or someone who makes out the loan package and presents it to us. And that is, if you cannot get funds from a normal commercial bank, then you qualify. You have to be turned down by 2 banks and you qualify for a direct loan.
Now, you help entrepreneurs in securing financing. Let's say I have a marketable idea, but how prepared should I be if I come to either one of you to seek help in setting up my own business?
Well, if you have a marketable idea and if you want to do business with the federal government, then what you would have to have, more or less, is we're looking for a source of finance, or we're looking for contracts. Whatever you desire to do, be sure at first you know exactly what you want to do. If you need the financing, if you need management assistance. If you need management assistance, we also have the capability to go out. We have what we call call contractors that will go out and do a survey for you. We will pay them to do it for you.
What kind of how prepared should I be if I was coming to you for?
Well, in the case with coming to us, we will take your idea after discussing it and make recommendations of what we think should be the sequence of events that you need to go through. Most people are under the impression, well, I have a good idea because I was trying to find such and such a thing and it didn't exist. What we do is lay in a plan. We do cost projections for you and say, all right, this is what it takes to do this business. This is after it's determined that it's feasible to do the business, I should say, too. We do a market analysis generally first. Some cases we can do a cursory analysis, which would do a comparison of what other businesses are doing in a similar situation. After that, we would go in and see if there's money that's necessary, if you need some cash injection in the business, which will be determined by doing the cash flow and sales analysis. We'll try and assist you in getting the funds for that business. What we try and do first is try and see if you can weather the storm with the business yourself, because obviously most people say, well, I want to go in business, I want some money, and that's not necessarily always the case.
In deciding on what type of business to go into before the client comes to you, what should they consider? Should they consider their previous experience, their interests, or market feasibility?
Well, all of it goes together. You could have a very good idea for a very good business, and if you don't have any background or knowledge of the business, then it makes it very difficult for you to succeed in that business. A lot of people will have experience in the business and then don't have any management or technical type of expertise to go along with the operation of the business. And that's another problem where they would need assistance and help in securing those services rather.
Essentially, what is the difference in service between SBA, your services, and the Office of Minority Business Enterprises?
All right.
Go ahead. The Office of Minority Business Enterprise. Wybirk is funded by the Department of Commerce. And basically what we're trying to do is, as you say, if you have a marketable idea, we're trying to let Wybirk to put together the package, a loan package, or either the package for business management or what have you. And by the time it gets to us, the package should be complete. The reason for this is because we have a limited amount of personnel in the government now, and we're doing what they call business development companies, the centers which Wybirk is. And there are 4 throughout the state of Louisiana. There's one in Shreveport, Cole and Associates, Wybirk here in Baton Rouge. You have offers New Orleans Baaheth Business Enterprise, which is Bruno and Turbalon, and you have one, what's White's? Export company, which is also funded by the Department of Commerce. And they act as a packaging house for the government agencies. And we normally have sessions to tell them exactly what we need in a loan package and to tell them exactly what they need to put an 8A package together so that a company can qualify for both finance and for contracts with the U.S. government.
Well, the other thing about our operation is that the plan that was put together by the United States Department of Commerce was to make the business development centers the hub of services. You have another agency, the state agency, the Governor's Office of Minority Business Enterprise, which is partially funded by the same organization. They concentrate primarily on state business. The SBA concentrates on loans and federal business. Well, Wybirk and the other business development centers, we work in the private sector as well as the public sector. Trying to find contracts, we'll actually go in and prepare bids for you. I can even go out and knock on doors and do marketing and selling for your business. We have a fee which is associated with it, and it's a minimal fee by comparison purposes. It's $2.50 for a business that's, or a new business, also under $500,000 gross receipts a year. It's $6.25 for a business over $500,000 gross receipts a year for in-house work. When we bring in a specialized consultant, the person will pay us 10% of the fee if they're under $500,000 a year gross receipts, or 25% of the fee if they're over $500,000, and we will pay the extra funds. We also are connected with various other groups and companies around the country which can bring in other services, so we can get into patents, product testing, major acquisitions of businesses. We can get into things of providing direct service like architectural, engineering services, data processing services. So it goes on and on and on.
Well, let me ask you this, Warren. Because you are funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce, can we think of you as another federal agency, or?
No, we are a for-profit corporation. We operate the center with a profit margin built into it. And we have specified goals and performance objectives to reach also. So it's a corporate agreement, and that's a little bit different from a grant in the sense that we're still an independent agency, an independent company, and the federal government monitors us from a performance standpoint quarterly. All right? But we're not a governmental agency. We could be considered a pseudo-governmental agency, but we're not a governmental agency.
Well, let me direct this question to the both of you. How do you define minority business, and why the emphasis on minority business?
Well, I define minority business the way SBA defined it is 51% owned by a minority, with the day management of the company by a minority. Why the emphasis? The federal government realized that out of several $1 billion of procurement, that minorities was only getting 1/10 of 1% of the total procurement package that the government did every year. And we're trying to get more minorities to the economic mainstream of society. And we have learned that there are those out there who have the technical expertise but don't have the financial capability. And what we've tried to do with Wybirk is to better serve the minority community, cutting down the red tape, cutting down the time of waiting. If they come to us with a completed package, we can process it much faster than having to send them back and forth for different information. And Wybirk can give them the information out there that they need at a limited amount of cost, where before a person couldn't afford to go to a CPA, put a financial statement together. Before he even attempted to go into business, he was talking about $5,000 or $6,000 out of his pocket. And that's what we tried to eliminate.
Which is preferable during these very hard economic times, to buy an existing business where you can look at the books and say this is thriving, or to start your own business from scratch?
Well, it's always difficult to start a business from scratch. And to buy an existing business, you need, as I mentioned, experience. You need some sort of collateralization to go into business, some cash injection to go into business. Generally, banks and the governmental loan sources will stretch it as much as 20 to 25% of your own capital to be put into the business. So they want you to have a vested interest into it. Most people starting businesses do not have a capitalization to open a business and run it, and even buying an existing business. So there's no clear-cut yes, no, which would be the best way to go. We've had some successes with individuals who have been looking to start businesses and found an existing business for them instead of having to start one from ground up, and been able to go in and say, all right, here is a profitable business, and it makes it a lot easier for capitalization, from a capitalization standpoint, because then you can prove a track record of an existing business and buy the goodwill that the business has.
And there seem to be two schools of thought in starting a business. One is to use as little of your own personal funds as possible. Keep that in the bank as borrowing power and collateral, and borrow as much as you can. The other school of thought seems to be just the reverse of that, which is to go ahead and use as much of your money as possible and borrow as little as you have to. Which do you think is the better way to start a business?
Again, there's no clear-cut way to say which is the best way. One thing needs to be pointed out, though. When you go to borrow money, you have to have some money. So you're going to have to either have it from your own savings or get it from friends or get partners in the business, or if you go into a corporation and maybe sell stock or whatever the case may be, and establish some sort of trade credit. I mean, those are the 5 areas where you can get money as well as just straight borrowing it. And again, most savings and loans, banks, private lenders, venture capital sources, governmental sources, state and federal governmental sources, they're going to want you to have at least 25% interest in that business, cash interest in that business.
We have less than 2 minutes left. Tell me, why do minority business fail? Is it because of a lack of money or lack of management skills?
Most failures, statistically speaking, are based upon lack of management skills, not necessarily lack of capital.
Does the SBA offer assistance as far as management skills?
Yes, SBA offers assistance. SBA have a chapter called SCORE, which is a Society of Retired Executives, and they also have, as I just told you a few minutes ago, a 7J program, which allows us to go out and to purchase consulting services for a business. We can do that for any minority small business. We'll purchase service from a particular consulting firm, in computerized firm or financial firm or whatever, CPA or whatever, and we'll send them into that business to evaluate that business to find out what the problems are. And after we evaluate it, we will tell them what their problems are, and we'll try to help them to correct them, whether it be finance or either technical. We'll do anything possible to keep that business going.
Good.
Thank you very much. We want to thank both of you, Warren Birkett of Wybirk and Associates and Nathaniel Davis of the Small Business Administration, for being with us today. Our time unfortunately ran out. Next week on Folks, we are going to be turning our attention to budget cuts.
That's right, Genevieve. We'll be taking a look at how the state budget cuts are affecting services for the poor and the needy, and we hope you'll join us then. Until that time, so long.
Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.